Hello, I'm Christopher. Welcome back to this channel. Have you ever noticed how the mind refuses to rest? You lie down to sleep, yet conversations replay again and again. You imagine future problems that have not happened. You question decisions from years ago. And the more you try to think your way out, the deeper you seem to sink into the noise. Today we call this overthinking, a constant stream of analysis, worry, and mental loops that leave us exhausted rather than enlightened. What may surprise you is that this struggle is not new. More than 2.5 millennia ago, Gautama Buddha observed the same restless patterns of the human mind. He spoke about wandering thoughts, restless attention, and the suffering that arises when the mind clings to every story it creates. In teachings preserved in texts such as the Dhammapada and the middle-length discourses, he offered not judgment but understanding and practical guidance for freeing the mind from unnecessary suffering. The Buddha did not suggest that thinking itself is wrong. Thought can be wise, compassionate, and useful. But he warned that untrained thinking, thoughts driven by fear, attachment, or endless doubt, can become a prison we mistake for reality. In today's world of constant notifications, comparison, and information overload, these ancient insights feel surprisingly modern. Many of us are living exactly what he described. A mind pulled in many directions, rarely at peace. In this video we will walk together through what the Buddha truly taught about the restless mind, why overthinking happens, how it quietly creates suffering, and most importantly, how gentle awareness can begin to loosen its grip. So take a slow breath. Settle your attention here with me. And let us begin this journey, not to stop thinking completely, but to understand thoughts so clearly that it no longer controls us. The mind creates the experience. Dear seeker, before we talk about overthinking, we must first understand how the Buddha viewed the mind itself. In the Dhammapada, one of the most respected collections of his teachings, the Buddha begins with a powerful statement: mind precedes all things, mind is their chief. What does this mean? Simply this: the way we experience life is deeply shaped by the state of our mind. Two people can face the same situation, yet one feels peace while the other feels anxiety. The external event may be identical, but the inner interpretation creates a completely different reality. The Buddha noticed that the mind constantly produces thoughts, memories, judgments, predictions, fears, hopes. This process is natural. But suffering begins when we believe that every thought is true, urgent, or deserving of endless attention. Imagine sitting beside a river. Thoughts are like the water flowing past. Overthinking happens when we jump into the river and try to control every wave instead of simply observing it move. The Buddha did not teach us to suppress thought. Instead, he invited us to see thoughts clearly, as temporary mental events, not absolute truths. This insight is profoundly freeing. When a thought says, "I am failing," or "something bad will happen," we usually react immediately. But the Buddha encourages a different approach. Pause. Observe. Ask gently, is this simply a passing mental formation? In this moment, you begin to shift from being trapped inside thinking to becoming the observer of thinking. And this is the first step on the path of freedom from overthinking. You are not the storm of thoughts. You are the awareness that notices the storm. As we move forward, we will explore why the mind clings to certain thoughts, and why, even today, this ancient understanding feels remarkably relevant to our modern lives. Why the mind overthinks. Dear seeker, now that we understand that thoughts shape experience, we must ask a deeper question. Why does the mind overthink in the first place? In the Sabbasava Sutta, the Buddha explains that suffering often grows from what he called unwise attention, the habit of giving energy to thoughts that increase confusion, fear, or craving. The mind naturally wants certainty. It wants safety. It wants control. And when life feels uncertain, it begins to analyze endlessly, searching for answers that may not exist. Think about how this shows up today. You replay conversations wondering if you said the wrong thing. You imagine future failures to prepare yourself against pain. You revisit old mistakes, hoping to rewrite the past inside your head. The Buddha described this as becoming trapped in a thicket of views, a tangled forest of ideas where the more you think, the more lost you feel. Overthinking, then, is not a sign of weakness. It is the mind trying, often desperately, to protect itself. But here is the quiet truth the Buddha reveals. Not every question needs an answer. Not every thought deserves attention. When attention repeatedly returns to fear, doubt, or self-judgment, those patterns grow stronger. The mind learns to loop. This is why overthinking feels so exhausting. The mind is running in circles while believing it is moving forward. As seekers, we begin to practice a gentle shift. Instead of asking, "Why am I thinking this so much?" we ask, "What kind of attention am I giving this thought?" This change is subtle but powerful. Because once you see that attention feeds thought, you begin to discover that attention can also be redirected, calmly, compassionately, and without force. And in the next section, we will explore the specific mental obstacles the Buddha identified, the hidden forces that fuel overthinking and keep the mind restless. The 5 obstacles that fuel overthinking. Dear seeker, the Buddha understood that overthinking does not arise randomly. Certain mental conditions make the mind restless, unclear, and prone to endless loops. He described these as the 5 hindrances, inner obstacles that cloud clarity and disturb peace. When we understand these hindrances, we begin to see overthinking with compassion rather than frustration. Keycap 1. Desire or craving. Sometimes the mind overthinks because it wants something badly: success, approval, certainty, control. It keeps planning and imagining because it believes peace lies in getting exactly what it wants. Keycap 2. Ill will or resistance. When we feel anger, resentment, or regret, the mind replays events repeatedly. Overthinking becomes a silent argument with the past. Keycap 3. Sloth and dullness. This may seem surprising, but mental heaviness can also create overthinking. When energy is low, thoughts become foggy, repetitive, and unproductive, circling without direction. Restlessness and anxiety. This is perhaps the most obvious. The mind jumps from one possibility to another, scanning for danger, unable to settle in the present moment. Doubt. Doubt whispers, "What if I choose wrong? What if I am not enough?" And so the mind keeps analyzing, hoping that more thinking will produce certainty. The Buddha taught that when these hindrances are active, clear understanding becomes difficult. This is not a failure, it is simply the natural condition of an untrained mind. Notice the kindness in this teaching. Instead of blaming yourself for overthinking, you begin to recognize, "Oh, this is restlessness. This is doubt. This is desire trying to protect me." Awareness itself starts to weaken their grip. And once we can recognize these obstacles, the next question naturally arises. What do we actually do when thoughts keep repeating? In the next section, we will explore the Buddha's practical, step-by-step methods for gently quieting the mind and stepping out of thought loops. Buddha's practical method for breaking thought loops. Dear seeker, understanding the mind is important, but the Buddha did not stop at theory. He offered clear, practical methods for working with repetitive and unhelpful thoughts. In the Vitakkasanthana Sutta, often called the Discourse on Calming Thoughts, he describes a step-by-step approach for handling persistent mental loops. Notice the compassion in this teaching. He knew the mind would wander. The goal was not perfection, but gentle training. Keycap 1. Replace the thought. If a thought leads to stress or fear, gently guide the mind toward something more skillful. A memory of kindness, gratitude, or simply the rhythm of the breath. Just as a carpenter replaces a rough peg with a smooth one, we replace harmful thinking with beneficial thinking. Keycap 2. Reflect on the cost. The Buddha suggests looking directly at the consequences of the thought. Ask softly, does this thought bring peace or does it create tension? Seeing the suffering caused by certain mental habits naturally weakens them. Keycap 3. Gently ignore and let go. Sometimes the wisest action is not to engage at all. Instead of arguing with the thought, allow it to pass like a cloud drifting across the sky. No resistance. No chasing. Keycap 4. Investigate the root. If the thought persists, look deeper. Is it driven by fear? By desire? By insecurity? Understanding the root brings clarity and compassion. Keycap 5. Firmly redirect attention. If needed, the Buddha advises a stronger effort, intentionally returning attention to a chosen anchor such as breath or bodily sensation. This is not forceful suppression. It is calm, deliberate redirection. Dear seeker, this method teaches something profound. You are not powerless against your thoughts. The mind can be trained patiently, step by step, like learning a new way of walking. And as you practice, you may notice something surprising. The goal is not to stop thoughts completely, but to stop being controlled by them. In the next section, we will explore the practice that makes this transformation possible. Mindfulness itself, the gentle art of observing without getting lost. Mindfulness, the antidote to overthinking. Dear seeker, After understanding why the mind overthinks and learning how to redirect thought, we come to the heart of the Buddhist teaching: mindfulness. In the teachings on mindfulness, especially the Sabbasava Sutta, the Buddha describes a simple but profound practice: learning to observe experience exactly as it is without immediately reacting to it. This sounds simple, yet it transforms the way we relate to our thoughts. Overthinking thrives when we become completely identified with thinking. A thought appears, and instantly we follow it into a story, then another story, until we forget that we are simply thinking. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle. Instead of becoming the thought, you become the witness. The Buddha invites us to begin with something very ordinary: the body and the breath. When the mind starts racing, notice the breath entering and leaving. Feel the weight of your body where you are sitting. Observe sensations without trying to change them. Then gently recognize what is happening inside. Planning, remembering, worrying. This simple labeling creates space. And in that space, thoughts begin to lose their urgency. The goal is not to silence the mind by force. The goal is to see clearly. Imagine watching clouds move across the sky. You do not chase them and you do not push them away. You simply observe. In the same way, mindfulness teaches us to allow thoughts to rise and fade naturally. And something beautiful begins to happen. You realize that thoughts are temporary. Feelings shift. Mental storms pass. Dear seeker, this is the quiet power of mindfulness. Not escape, but clarity. And as this clarity grows, the grip of overthinking softens. In the next section, we will explore why these ancient teachings feel so deeply relevant today, perhaps even more than ever in our fast-moving modern world. Why Buddhist teaching hits hard today. Dear seeker, by now you may be wondering why teachings spoken more than 2,000 years ago feel so personal, almost as if they were written for the modern mind. The truth is simple. Human technology has changed dramatically, but the human mind has changed very little. The Buddha observed minds distracted by desire, fear, comparison, and uncertainty. Today, these same tendencies are amplified by modern life. Think about the world we live in. Endless notifications pull our attention in every direction. Social media invites constant comparison. News cycles feed anxiety and urgency. And the pressure to always improve ourselves keeps the mind endlessly busy. In many ways, modern culture rewards overthinking. We are taught that more analysis means more control, more preparation, more success. Yet the Buddha gently points us toward a different insight. A busy mind is not necessarily a wise mind. When attention is scattered, peace becomes difficult. When the mind constantly lives in imagined futures or rewritten pasts, the present moment feels distant, almost unreachable. This is why his teachings resonate so deeply today. He did not ask people to escape the world or reject responsibility. Instead, he invited them to meet life with clarity rather than mental chaos. To pause, to observe, to respond instead of react. For many seekers today, this feels revolutionary, because slowing down in a world that demands constant mental activity is an act of courage. And perhaps this is the most timeless lesson. The path to peace does not require changing the world around you first. It begins by changing your relationship with your own mind. As we move toward the closing of this journey, let us gather these teachings together, not as abstract philosophy, but as practical wisdom you can carry into your everyday life, moment by moment, breath by breath. Dear seeker, as we come to the end of this journey together, take a quiet moment to notice how you feel right now. Perhaps your mind is still moving, and that is perfectly natural. The Buddha never promised a life without thoughts, nor a mind that becomes permanently silent. Instead, he offered something far more realistic and compassionate: the possibility of understanding the mind so deeply that it no longer controls you. Overthinking is not a personal flaw. It is simply the mind doing what it has learned to do, trying to protect you, trying to predict the future, trying to make sense of uncertainty. But through awareness, gentle attention, and mindful practice, you begin to see another possibility. You can pause before following every thought. You can breathe before reacting. You can choose clarity over mental noise. The teachings we explored today, from observing thoughts to practicing mindfulness, are not ideas meant only for monks or ancient times. They are living tools meant for real life, for stressful mornings, restless nights, difficult decisions, and quiet moments of self-doubt. So the next time your mind begins to spiral, remember this simple invitation. Stop for a moment. Feel one breath. Notice the thought, and gently let it pass. Peace rarely arrives as a sudden breakthrough. More often, it grows slowly, through small moments of awareness repeated again and again. If this reflection resonated with you, perhaps tonight you can give yourself 1 minute of stillness, not to force calm, but simply to watch the mind with kindness. Thank you for walking this path with me today. May your thoughts become lighter. May your heart become steadier. And may you continue your journey with patience, wisdom, and compassion. Until next time, dear seeker, be gentle with your mind,